Record to this computer. Hopefully I have enough space. All right, so now I'll make you the host, and then we'll get going here.
For what it's worth, when this whole quarantine set in and we bought a nicer router and upgraded our internet plan, good to see that it's all working so well. I'm going back to screen share. So where during the 5 note thing did we drop out?
Key of B.
Okay. Well, I don't have perfect pitch, so let's see here.
Beginning of second line, so the fifth example.
Yeah, I don't know where in the audio file that's going to be, so
We
I'll
can just
start.
start it over, whatever.
And we're back. Everybody still there, or did I freeze out again? Oh, silence.
You're
Good to
still there.
go. Good to go.
Good. Um, so when I do that exercise, for us to do things together as a group, the one disadvantage, and one disadvantage sometimes with the play-alongs, is that they are somewhat regimented. And the one thing I do want to make sure that I share with you guys is that when I'm warming up, I try to invoke creativity pretty much every single day. It's just harder to do that in a group setting. So when I warm up, I do a little bit of buzzing, and then when I go to the instrument, I'm going for little exercises that help me to get an easy tone and get the air moving. But also, I want to invoke a little creativity. So even though I didn't actually write this exercise down, I'm going to show it to you, and it's not hard to see. But basically, the first thing I do on my instrument is a short improvisation over 6 notes, and the 6 notes are just those 6 notes. So when I start my day, I might be doing something like this. Just kind of doodling around on those 6 notes and trying to get a little bit of creativity into it, which helps me because I think one thing that we suffer from sometimes is a tendency to daydream while we're playing. And some will say, well, that's actually a good thing. And we can have a long discussion over beer with that. But for me, to keep my mind dialed in, if I'm having to create it on the spot, that works. I've tried this some with my students, and the only problem I've encountered is if they're uncertain about what note to play next, then the tone begins to suffer. So it's important to keep it very, very simple and work on just a beautiful sound. So I'll do that little 6-note improvisation, followed by this 5-note exercise that we all did together. However, when I'm doing the 5-note exercise, depending on how much time I want to devote to it, I'm either going to do it straight down once each key, but I will sometimes start to do little variations on it. So I might start out. Something like that. I'll kind of keep it interesting, but more or less it's still following the basic template of the 5-note descending. If I get a pattern I like, I might extend that out and run that through a few different keys. Some days, if my chops are feeling great, I'm going to get a lot fancier with it. And then other days, my chops are feeling very stubborn and not very cooperative, and then I'm going to keep it very simple. One last little thing before we move off of this is if I have more time, I go through each key twice. So it's a theme and variation. So I'll do the straight version and then the varied version. So maybe. And I'll work my way down that. So then it's interesting to kind of, if you make a pattern that you like, then try transposing that pattern into other keys. So you develop what I call key sense, which I think is a wonderful thing. It's the thing I try to do with my students at Arizona State. One of the things that we do in the studio is a thing called the tune ladder. And it's a series of simple melodies. And basically, their job is to learn the melody, memorize it, and then start playing it in different keys. So a common lesson, I'm going to be sitting at the piano and playing chords, and they have maybe 3 keys that week. And they work their way through the tune. And some people, it's enormously difficult for them. And for some people, they can do all 12 keys just right away. It just depends on how strongly developed their key sense is. For those students who master it more easily, I'm like, okay, let's start to vary it. And maybe I'll start playing the chord changes in minor and see if they can pivot the melody over to minor. I'll ask them to just start to freely improvise the melody. I had one guy last year who was unusually good with his ear and his jazz skills. He tends to learn concertos by ear because he just plays them better that way, and it seemed to work. He won the school's concerto competition, so good for him. But in his case, he was always a good mental challenge for me. I'd sit down and try to do the accompaniment in 7/8 time, and boom, he was just right on it. He knew what I was doing. Or I'd do staccato, angry minor, and he would immediately change the melody and make it angry minor. So it could be a lot of fun. But you have to meet each student where they are and find their level of ability. Any questions before we go on, besides why don't you have better internet? There being none, I guess I'm going on. All right. Let's continue. All right. So sorry, that's all the embedded audio that I have, but I have a handy dandy metronome here. So the next thing I do is a little sequence of lip slurs. Let's see. We'll go about this speed. And what I'm going to do is go straight through 3A and 3B in sequence so that we go straight from the end of one to the beginning of the next. I can anticipate a question coming up right away, and the question will be, why didn't you go to 7th position? Actually, I've since revised this, and I do go to 7th position, but the reason I took 7th position out was I got tired of people thinking that they were playing in 7th position, but they're actually just playing in a quarter tone sharp. And I started to make a sarcastic joke, which is many people can't reach 7th position and half of them know it. But we'll leave it at that. And that's, by the way, is about as funny as the jokes are going to get. So we'll go through this together without any pauses or drones, and we'll stop after we get to the end of the fourth line, which is 3B. Okay, and that's a quarter note pulse. I know it says cut time, but for now we'll do it in 4/4. Okay, 1, 2. So you get the idea. And as a teacher, some of the things I'm watching for, I'm watching to see their breathing. I'm checking to see their posture. I'm watching to see the corners of the embouchure to make sure that there's anything too unusual happening there. And if I do see something unusual, I don't immediately jump in to work on it. I always anything I do with embouchure is driven by what I hear. And it seems like if a student sounds great and things are working, then I don't want to necessarily open up that Pandora's box. But if I see a consistent problem in their playing and I think I can link it to the embouchure, then I may go there. Let's go to 3C. Same idea. 1, 2. And then, let's see here. There we go. Now we got the next screen up there. Same idea. We're just going to work our way up to the eighth partial. We'll do letter D and letter E continuously. Same tempo throughout. It's nice to set the metronome on and not have to reset it. Here we go. 1, 2. So that's the basic idea. I know some of you might be a little disappointed because you're like, wow, those are the lip slurs you do. Those are not very interesting. When it comes to lip slurs, I expected something a little bit more creative. Sorry. This is just a very generic, straight ahead pattern. I do other lip slurs during the day, which I'll talk about in a second. I will say that on that theme and variation idea that I mentioned previously, I still do that on the lip slurs. So for instance, if I go like at the pattern here where the is in G, I'll do it one time straight, and then the next time I'll do something a little bit more creative. like that. I'll try and do something depending on, once again, I gauge it to how I'm feeling that day. If I feel like I've got it, I'll do something a little bit more difficult. And then I'll go on to fifth position. I'll do the straight generic version, and then I'll do a varied version. So it really comes out musically like being theme and variations, if that makes sense. All right, I'll pause it there real quickly. And once again, I'll ask, does anybody have any questions before I move on? I see Amaya raising a hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, is that like the last two exercises that we did, would those be good for like a more of a range building kind of thing, or specifically warm up kind of?
It could be good for range building. It kind of depends on where your level is. And of course,
Right.
bones, that's starting to push it a little bit higher. So you have to gauge it according to your abilities. One thing when I'm touching on high range is I don't want to go into it so much that I need to warm down or I feel like exhausted or tired at the end of the session, if that makes sense, right? And one of the things I'll do after I do those slurs is I'll kind of go through a quick, just kind of. Not too loud, not belabored, but I try to go, I try to like very briefly go as high as I can until I stop getting a note. And then I go down, So in a very short amount of time, I touch all of my ranges in a way that's physically exhausting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you pronounce your name Amaya or Amaya?
Amaya.
Oh, very cool. All right. I wasn't gonna be able to go to sleep. I didn't know the correct pronunciation.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions? Go on. I don't see any. Do you see any, Jason? Okay. Let's keep going.
No, I think the shock and awe with your explanations. Everyone's got it. So let's press on.
Term. All right. So this is just a little, now is what we're doing with the time that we have available is just little samplers from different books I've done. This is from the scale book, Patterns and Snippets. And it's just a nice little legato thing. We won't necessarily do all of it, but what you see is it's written out here in the key of F, written out again in the key of B flat, and then it's you see sort of a compressed, abbreviated notation down below. So what we'll do is take it through the key of B major. You're welcome. And it's just always the same pattern applied to each set of notes. So let's kind of work our way through that. And that tempo probably works. I think I saw someone in the chat asking what the tempo was on the previous exercise. Actually, my metronome has a tap in feature. So it was 91, which I don't know. I'm old fashioned. I hate the tempos that are not the traditional ones. So I bumped it up to 92 now. I'm sure some of you will notice the difference, but okay. So here we go. And with legato, you want to keep the air flowing very smoothly, very, very light touch of the tongue. Notice also, before we do this, where I put the breath mark. A lot of people will just kind of play until they run out of air and then they take a breath, which means they're going to breathe after the top note. So what I'm going to ask you to do is plan in advance before the Christmas rush and take a breath early and then see if you can do the end of the exercise straight through without having to come up for air. Sometimes I forget too, but let's try it together. Okay, 1, 2. And we'll stop it there. So that's just a simple little legato scale thing. The design of the exercise is starting with legato tugging on a single note, then moving to short moving of the slide, and then trying to incorporate those good habits into the scale. One or two real quick things about legato that I'm going to say that probably are not that shocking. Generally speaking, if the notes are legato and they're a half step apart, I'm going to think about using an alternate position in order to accommodate the nice legato, and that doesn't seem like a revolutionary idea. So for instance, I'm going to probably play that D in fourth position because I like the way the notes connect. Some people will say, well, shouldn't you take advantage of the natural slur? I mean, yeah, you could. One of the things I try and tell my students is that every slide position is a choice, and it carries with it advantages and disadvantages. And I don't try and dictate to them exactly what they do with their slide. More, I just say you need to be aware of the advantages and disadvantages of the choices you make. And generally, you know, the closer positions, we're going to get a more stable tone and probably better intonation. But then mechanically, we may have to have some longer throws of the slide, and that carries with it its own disadvantages. One other little thing I'm going to say quickly before jumping off of this. The one scale, the A flat scale, I've gotten into the habit. I like to have the C, D flat. I like to have them as next door neighbors because the other version is kind of awkward. In order to make that happen, I have to use the B flat in the valve. And that's strange and awkward for my students. They don't love that, but I think ultimately it is slightly better. And sometimes I have them to do what I call the follow the yellow brick road exercise. And they do that enough times, I have to do it the other way. And eventually they go, yeah, it's probably better. Okay, moving on.
Brad, real quick, since you're screen sharing and therefore you're the host, Joseph Robida, who was here, needs to get let back in. If you wouldn't mind just opening the door for him.
And Nick Scholl, or Joseph may have.
Sounds like an upstanding trombone player. I don't know.
Yeah, his name disappeared just before I clicked on it, so he may have given up. Joseph, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to diss you. Okay, let's do a little manipulation together. This is from that Simply Singing book. It's a bunch of simple melodies. I didn't want to turn this into an advertisement, infomercial for books, so trying not to do that. But this is just a little tune. It's basically I'm channeling Arvin. Who are we kidding? So it's just a simple little melody, and 92 seems to be the good tempo to work on all these things. So when you're playing these, keep some separation. Don't at this moment go for a big tenuto, which would be. Oh, I just hit my slide on the desk. I love it. That's not embarrassing at all. Anyway, but kind of keep it with a light bounce. Like that, okay? Here we go. Wow. I don't think I ended it. Whew. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. So it's a little tune, basically sounds like an Arvin's. When I'm doing these little melodies, really anything out of this book, I'm doing all sorts of manipulations of the key and the clef so I can send it into different keys. This one, you can do a key flip. So instead of there's no reason why you can't flip it into B major. Well, actually, the reason would be that you do have accidentals, and you're going to have to take out your pocket calculator and figure out how to handle those. Also, tenor clef. Or you could do tenor clef down an octave. You could do bass up. Or bass down. And then if you're feeling bold, you tenor down too. Like that. So take it into the different octaves so that you can take a melody that on the face of it appears to be very simple because it's just sitting in the middle of the range, but you can very quickly turn it into a nice exercise to develop your technique. And shorter melodies are useful for that. All right, so because the clock is moving along, because I dropped out my internet, I'm gonna keep going here. This is a lip slur melody. So the logic behind this is that within each phrase, you can play all the notes moving from note to note with a natural slur. You would tongue the first note of each phrase. And this one doesn't rely too heavily on alternate positions to get the job done. Some people, sometimes you'll see a debate about whether or not people should use natural slurs. I'm not going to enter that debate except to say that if you can make your natural slurs work very well, then your legato tonguing on that same passage will probably be better, because by making yourself do it with a natural slur, you're forcing good control of focus of the embouchure. And also, I found that these are surprisingly good for working on slide technique. So we're going to try this one. Let's see. This one we'll try to do it in a slow cut time. So we'll do it at about 56. So what you're hearing is a half note. And just blow through the line. See if you can get through each phrase without coming up for air. 1, 2, ready. So that's the basic idea behind that one. Sometimes people ask me, why did I not put a tempo marking on these? And the answer is, well, everyone has a different level of playing ability. And for some of you, that tempo probably worked out great. For other folks, that might have felt like it was maybe, moving along at too fast a clip. And certainly when I'm teaching lessons, what I'm telling my students is choose the tempo where you can play it well. And then we build from there. So that is a lip slur melody. Here's another one, but our time is getting a little bit short. So I'm going to try to get over to this one. And I got to stop the screen share for just a moment because I got to pull up the drone for this. So give me a second, because I am actually doing a search on my computer at this moment. So this is, I like to play melodies over tuning drones. And this one's built over there we go, an E-flat drone. The drone that I use is a sort of a composite that I made using some various different sources. I just like it. It's a mixture of different sounds. And so you can see it there. I generally kind of put my stuff together in Audacity and then heading back over to the tune. So what I'll do is set up the drone, and I got to set up the output so it's going through Zoom. So I'm going to play just a moment of this, and Jason, let me know if it's coming through. Is that coming through?
I hear it.
Hey, that's good. Okay, so I'll set up the drone, then I'll swing over here. And I might have to do a little bit of conducting because you might not hear me. So on the tune, let's see where'd it go. Come on back. We'll go bum, ba, dee, da, 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 da. And I'll have the metronome. I'll turn it maximum volume right near the microphone. So maybe you can hear it. Wish us luck. And away. So that was the idea behind this. I like to, actually one of my favorite things to do, especially if it's a day when I'm feeling a little down and maybe my inspiration levels are not so high, is I will just put on tuning drones and start making things up over the tuning drones. And sometimes I can really get lost in that. And it's surprising how fast the clock begins to turn. Oh, I did have a drone embedded on this one. Darn it. Oh, well, whatever. So that's the thing I'd recommend. It's enjoyable to get together with students to, just make up things over a drone. Jason, we are at 10 a.m. Give me some feedback.
It's great. That last one, it reminded me of, what was it, Bone Week Fanfare number 6 or number 7 for trombone ensemble. I'm sensing some Brad Edwards leitmotifs, but no. This has been great. It's just great. A lot of us have your books, and a lot of us are using your exercises, and we're not new to a lot of them. But to kind of hear some insight as to how you go through them, it's really helpful. I mean, anytime that you get a chance to work with the author of a material, you can kind of see it in a whole new way, and hear it in a whole new way. So that's really been great for all of us. But are there any questions that now's the time, perhaps, as we're kind of wrapping up a little bit?
I throw something in real quickly before we pivot out to questions. I can go a bit long, by the way. It's a Saturday. I mean, who are we kidding? As if weekdays mean anything anymore. But I did want to say that the basic structure of a recommended practice routine is I have a little core warm-up that takes 15 to 20 minutes. And then beyond that, my daily practicing, I do what I call melody work, which might be working with lip stir melodies or tuning drum melodies or transposing. So that's melody work and key sense, I think, is very important. Then another component of it is scales and arpeggios. I mean, you can't escape them. So I try and devote some time to scales and arpeggios. And then the last one is doing some more advanced lip slurs. So I sort of see, like, maybe I should have done a graphic for this, but like a core warm up branching out into 3 things that I try to hit with some regularity, which is melody work and scales, arpeggios, and lip slurs. So I wanted to mention that, and I want to do one last very quick plug because I'm pitiful. So at Arizona State, we are hoping to do a brass workshop. You can see the link there, brasscollaborations.com. And this will happen if we have enough enrollment. We're still not sure we're going to meet the enrollment numbers yet. But basically, it's going to be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday over the course of 2 weeks. A session from 9 to 1 Pacific Daylight Savings Time, PDT. And then the other thing I'm involved with, if I can get this to work, is the RAFAEL MÉNDEZ Brass Institute. I was thrilled to be able to join their faculty starting last summer, and they've asked me to come back again this summer, so I guess I didn't offend them too badly. But we are, like so many people, we're going to a virtual model, and there's going to be there's going to be an excerpt competition, orchestral excerpt competition. The other trombone faculty are Carl Lenthy and Scott Hartman and John Lofton, who's the bass trombonist of the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And so if you guys are interested in that, jump on in. And I see 2 people trying to rejoin the group, so I'll get them in here. All right, questions?
Yeah, sorry, one of those guys is that, yeah, Joe Rabita. Is he, can you possibly let him in?
Good.
Oh, thanks.
Really sorry, man.
It's okay.
It was something you said that made me angry, and so I wanted to keep you out of the room.
Okay.
Brad,
You
I had a question.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I got a question for you. So there are a lot of trombone. Obviously, many of us are continuing to, hone our craft, and I'm sure you hear a lot of students that come and audition, at Arizona State or for various summer festivals or whatever. If you were to give advice to like high school students that are taking college auditions, what kinds of things are you listening for? What's your insight by sitting on the other side of those kinds of auditions? Maybe specifically for somebody who's trying to go to college or for a summer festival, something like that.
For either the student or the teacher, the success or failure of the audition begins long before the day of the audition. It's important that a student, if you are interested in a school, then absolutely reach out to the teacher. And don't start your message with, hey, what's up? Actually use good grammar and be polite. And then, when I get an email like that from a student, I start to get stressed out if I haven't replied within 24 hours. I mean, I try to stay right on top of it. And it's amazing talking to some students who come to ASU. They say that they've emailed other teachers and the teacher just never even replied. So it's important to evaluate, does the teacher reply? Do they reply somewhat thoughtfully? So you start by establishing a dialogue with the teacher in advance of the audition day. If at all possible, come visit the campus and take a free. I always offer one free lesson. Lots of teachers do that. So if you come on, we can chat. We can do a lesson. I usually send them to schedule events both for the orchestra, the wind ensemble, the trombone ensemble, or guest artists. I say if you can possibly do it, come in and pay a visit when there's an event going on. I even try to schedule my events in proximity to audition days. So like before a big audition day, there might be a trombone studio recital with some quartets and soloists and so on. So that's all the stuff that happens before the day of the audition. On the day of the audition, dress reasonably nicely. I mean, I wouldn't show up in flip-flops and torn shorts, which is actually possible in Arizona. Maybe not in other places. It is, I think, a little nice extra step if you come in and you've got a printed list of the things that you plan to play, and as a courtesy to the teachers. And usually it's nice if a student comes in and says, here are the things I've prepared. What would you like to hear? And as a teacher, I will always throw it back to the student and say, well, what would you like to start with? Because I always want them to start with the thing they're most comfortable with. When they are playing, what I will do, I try and keep it very simple. There's 2 things I'm listening for, is a nice tone quality and some kind of musical interest. And if they check either box, I'm inclined to say yes. Although if I have more applicants than I have openings, then that does become tricky. But basically, if they have a nice sound, but it's not very interesting musically, I can work with that. If they're doing something interesting musically, but there's something I see that's holding them back in terms of their tone, I was like, well, they've got something to say musically. So I'm basically listening for those 2 elements. Am I answering your question as you hoped?
Yeah. I look forward to auditioning for you for this coming fall, and I appreciate the info. And no, it's great. I just think it's great to hear your insight. Appreciate it.
One last little thing with that is I've moved to typing notes for each audition in a Google Doc while the student is playing. And from having taken auditions myself in the past, whenever I see the committee or someone start to write stuff down, it always freaks me out because I'm like, what did I just do? Was that good? Is it bad? Is it good? Is it bad? But you have to realize, as when I'm listening to an audition, I'm compiling thoughts. And then at some point, my typing is a form of downloading from what I've heard over the last few minutes. So don't freak out if you see me start to type. It's probably not a reaction to what happened in that moment. And the other thing I do with all of my students is, if they email me afterwards and say, can I see what you wrote in the notes? I always share the notes with them. The only thing I'll do is if it's sometimes I'm typing in a very highly abbreviated way using codes, so I'll flush it out a little bit. But I want, at least at our school, I want the audition process to be as transparent as possible. And so if I've got comments on how they played and they want to know what the comments are, I'm happy to share the feedback with them.
I actually teach my students to convince themselves that the person is writing down really positive thoughts about stuff that they're hearing.
Right.
Oh my God, what an amazing tone, or oh my God, that's,
And the other thing is, in an audition, everybody in the room wants the same thing. The student wants to sound good. You want the student to sound good. We're all rooting for a good product together. So think of it more as a team effort. Like, come on, we can make this happen. The other thing about an audition in college is if you get off to a shaky start, but then you recover, that's totally fine. I'm listening for the better moments. Think of an audition as you're showing what you're capable of doing. And so it's not like, the first 20 seconds doesn't go well and you're like, that's it, you're out. Open the trap door, you're gone. I mean, I'm rooting for them. If they recover, that's well. One other thing I would share for, I don't know how many high school folks we have in here. Sometimes I've seen high school students come in and they will choose music that is designed to impress, but it's maybe a little bit above their ability of playing. And they're thinking, oh, I'm going to play this really hard piece because it's going to impress the judge and impress the committee, whatever. And I'd say, no, choose stuff that you love to play. Because if you love to play it, you're probably going to sound really good on it. And you'll play it with more conviction. So pick, and the other thing, of course, is there needs to be some variety. If you come in and everything you play is kind of slow and legato, then as I'm listening, I start to think, well, okay, that's nice, but can you articulate clearly? Can you play high? Can you play low? So I will sometimes fish a little bit. And at least at ASU, I do ask a little sight reading at the end of each audition. They're little short examples. I usually hear 3 or 4 that are testing for various things. Maya, I think I see the hand icon for in your screen. Did you have a question?
She wrote in the chat that she can't hear. I don't know if her audio is working now, but.
Oh.
It looks like she posed the same question for master's, doctoral level students. Are there any differences in that process?
Doctoral, I'm more likely to expect to hear some orchestral excerpts. It depends on what they're training for, but when they start to get that level, I feel like they should know at least the top 20 or 30. So usually when they're preparing a list, I'm trying to get that, I'd like to hear some of the orchestral excerpts. I'm a little unusual in that with undergraduate students, I don't push the excerpts very hard because I feel like if you're a good musician and you have good technique, the excerpts, let's be honest, they aren't really that hard. You've got Baird 3 pieces for orchestra. Okay, that's hard. William Tell is annoyingly hard. I don't know why 104 is infinitely easier than 108 for me, but there you have it. So there are some excerpts that are pretty tough, but most of the time it's just something that's fast and you just have to play it slow for a long time until it embeds. Although Jason, you have a really excellent thing about playing fast chunks, which opened my eyes. That you had a presentation, I think it's on YouTube. And that definitely influenced the way I teach and practice as well. Am I describing that accurately?
Yeah, I'm flattered. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think it's not just you, but because I know violinists will do a practice technique called fast chunks. But I think that's also a useful thing, is slowing it down and doing the fast chunks, sort of approaching the goal.
What I often talk about with students is that if there's some kind of physical mechanism that you're working on, whether it's tonguing or, if your chops are just really struggling with something, you have to slow it down and sort that out.
Yeah.
But if it's more about coordinating where you need to put the slide and what notes to play, that's more faster chunks kind of stuff. But, if you're going about it, you should really be doing all of it, as you know.
We're all being distracted by Eric's baby. A future trombone player. Hey! Much more interesting than anything we could do with trombone. Any other questions? Anything at all? Yeah, I'm not that interesting. So, all right. Well, guys, I really enjoyed this. I don't know if my kids enjoyed it. Actually, my son has had a meeting at 9 a.m. too. He's doing research stuff through the summer in computer sciences and robotics. So he has to get up and go to meetings. So actually we both lost our internet at the same time. So
that's a bummer. Well, I posted trombonezone.org is just a little link that I put in the informational flyer that went out to everybody. So they have trombonezone.org, which is kind of like a personal page for you. And then,
Business. I'm starting to build up another site that'll be a little bit more commercial in focus, so that Trombone becomes more of a resource and less of a sales site. But you know, that takes time.
sure, yep. And with having recorded some of the session, and I mentioned that we're in the process of developing like a web page where we can kind of post resources for people. So links to information that may have been shared during the hang or recordings of the hang or whatnot. So hopefully we'll be able to get information to people as needed. But yeah, if you have any questions for Brad Edwards, and you can either reach out to him through his university website or send a message to me and I can forward it along. The RAFAEL MÉNDEZ Institute's posted in the chat. Thank you for that. A lot of great opportunities to keep soaking up his greatness. So just, Brad, thank you so much for sharing some of your time and your experience and talents with us. We really appreciate it here at the International Trombone Hang.
Yeah, and there is a trombone pedagogy group on Facebook if you are interested in geeking out about these things. It's a small group. We only have 8,000 people in there. So it started out 13 people, and somehow it became 8,000. Not quite sure how that went down. But there's some interesting stuff in there. And when this is over, if you want to shoot me an email, bradedwards@asu.edu, with a question, reach out, and I'm happy to chat with you.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you, Brad, thanks for doing this.
Sure, my pleasure.
Take care.
You and Andy doing okay, Dan?
Yeah. I hope Martha's well, and
Yes.
your kids are big now. Ours are growing, but man, yours are
Yeah.
often grown up.
Yep. And
Take care of yourself.
you
Thanks. Hey, Brad, we haven't met. I'm Dave. I'm one of the other guys, the administrators. So I just wanted to say it was great meeting you, and thanks for the session.
My
So
pleasure.
yeah, it's really wonderful. I spent a year in Denmark, and the guys in the section had your books, and we would play the Lipslers together. So you're well known. So it's really I really liked your book. So thanks for all your work.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm always working on some new thing.
Yeah, excellent.
It wraps until it's ready to go.
So cool.
David,
All right,
Sorry, pardon?
David, where are you located?
I'm in Cincinnati now. I play principal in South Bend and a couple regional orchestras around the Indiana area, and I freelance in Columbus and Cincinnati and that area.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was in Europe for about 8 years.
Okay, your name's familiar to me, but I'm trying to remember if we ever actually met in person.
Yeah, I mean, I bought your books. You probably have my email on your. You probably recognize from there. So yeah. But, so
Combination.
yeah. So cool. Well, I'm gonna run off, but thank you so much, and it was great meeting you, and it's a wonderful session. So thanks for doing this.
Thanks, guys.
And I'll send out info regarding the next trombone hang. I'm not sure who we have lined up next, so just you'll get an email when we know, you'll know. So just make sure. And if you want to get on the list, or if you have friends who want to get on the list, just jasonsullivan@gmail. Just either they can either send me a message through my website or just send one to my Gmail. Either way is fine. So thanks.
Okay. Thanks for setting this up, Jason and
Yeah.
David. I appreciate it. With the work you're doing, guys.
Oh well, yeah. It's I think it's one of the silver linings of the whole distancing and quarantine and COVID is that I feel like a lot of us just said, okay, fine, we have to figure out this technology thing, and now I think we're finding that it's not perfect, but hopefully after everything kind of opens up, we can still utilize this technology because not everybody can fly to another country and take a lesson and whatnot. So I think we're starting to see that it has its bonuses. It can work. So
There is some potential there.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally agreed. And even if there's a patchy internet connection at times, that's okay. The overall message and the overall teaching can still take place. So
Have you done anything on Internet 2 using the LOLA system?
no, I haven't.
LOLA means low latency, and it has to run on Internet 2, which is basically faster. But you can actually people on two sides of the country playing a duet together. And the lag time, when it says low latency, they aren't kidding. At a group warm-up instance, it was about 80 miles away, but I was able to conduct and keep time and hear them playing in time with my staff. So, but you have to have a LOLA hub on each end, or Internet 2 hub. But if you look into that, LOLA, I'm hoping that that grows and maybe, next pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be one pandemic ahead as opposed to one pandemic
Right. Plan ahead a little bit.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, me, I'm buying toilet paper by the ton next time.
So, yeah.
The toilet paper thing. Like we're
Right.
still on the we're fine. That's not the thing we're running out of. Anyway.
Yeah. A cartoon where some dinosaurs were watching a meteor streaking towards the Earth, and they said, "Okay, we better go buy some toilet paper."
Yeah. So,
All right.
cool.
Thanks, everybody.
I gotta run.
Yeah.
So thank you again so much. This was awesome, and hope to meet you in real life soon. So,
Yes.
Looking forward to it. Be safe, okay?
You too. You as well. Okay, I'm going to jump out. See you, everybody.
All right.
All right, take care.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.